Let's cut straight to what's eating at you. The thing nobody talks about, but every limited partner feels. The gut-wrenching, soul-crushing fear of pulling out right when your fund is peaking. You know that moment seems almost impossible to walk away from. After all, the fund looks golden, everything's riding high, the returns are what you dreamed of, the horizon looks flush with promise. So why would anyone even think of pulling out now? The truth is, you're not alone for feeling the itch. The heavy weight of doubt mixed with a desperate need to protect what you fought tooth and nail to build. No one says this out loud, but many limited partners face this storm. It's messy, it's brutal, it's deeply human. Here's what your gut is screaming but rarely gets aired. There's this invisible pressure, this desperate urge to hold on tight, to not make a move, because the fear of missing out is stronger than the fear of losing everything. Going all in when the fund's at its peak almost feels like loyalty or maybe courage, but deep down, there's a gnawing question. What if this peak is just a breath before the plunge? What if, beneath this shiny surface, something is shifting you haven't caught yet? This internal war, between the desire to ride it out and the primal need to bail before the fall, is what haunts every limited partner who dares to think beyond the glossy reports. But here's the kicker. Pulling out at the peak isn't just about fear or rash decisions. It's way more nuanced and way tougher than it seems. Most people mistake it for panic or lack of patience, but the real story lives in the subtle layers beneath. It's about knowing yourself well enough to hear the early cracks in the system, feeling the silent rumblings that only the sharpest observers catch, and having the guts to act, not from fear, but from clarity. That wisdom, that gut-level clarity, comes from a place outside of numbers and fancy projections. It's the voice inside that says, I see what others don't. I sense that what glitters is not always gold. It's the voice that pushes you to protect your integrity, your capital, your freedom. So why would a limited partner ever pull out at this pinnacle moment? Because sometimes the system you trusted is quietly crumbling beneath your feet. Because the fund, no matter how promising, can be a wave about to crash against a hidden reef of risk. Because the game shifts faster than anyone admits. The smart ones, the ones who survive long-term, aren't just staring at reports, they're reading between the lines, listening to the market's silent language, tuning into the ecosystem's subtle vibrations. They're not slaves to the status quo or blinded by blind loyalty. They understand that liberation, true liberation, means having the courage to break free, even if it looks insane to everyone else. Here's what's brutal about it. The system you're part of wants you to believe that sticking to the fund until the bitter end is the only way to win. They sell you that story hard. They want you locked in, predictable, obedient. But here's the raw truth they don't tell you. Sometimes staying locked in means losing more than capital. It means losing your ability to control your destiny. It means trading your agency for an illusion of security. So, pulling out at the peak is not betrayal. It's an act of ultimate self-possession. It's you saying, I'm not a pawn in someone else's game. I decide where my limits are. This kind of move shakes the foundations of the system because it breaks the scripted dance and injects pure, raw sovereignty into the mix. Imagine what that means for you. If you can grasp this, you're stepping into an arena most never dare to enter. The arena where your will is your weapon, where your decisions aren't hijacked by fear or pressure, but driven by an unswerving clarity about your own path. This is not about impulsive exits or cheap thrills. It's about a slow, deliberate process of unlearning the lies the system heaps on you every day. It's about tuning out the noise, the endless chatter about benchmarks and industry standards, and tuning deeply into what you need. The rare few who master this don't just survive market storms, they shape the very reality of what investment means. Here's the catch, though, and pay attention because this flips the whole narrative. Sometimes the fear of pulling out at the peak is just a trap to keep you trapped. The system incentivizes waiting, holding, trusting the hype, promising returns that maybe aren't as sure as they seem. It feeds on your inertia. It counts on you to stay quiet, to not question what feels off, to ignore the lessons screaming to be heard. But you're not here to be a silent player. You're here to be a force that listens hard, moves fast, pulls out when the storm is just gathering strength, instead of drowning in the flood because you waited too long. So, what's the secret? First, get brutally honest with yourself about why you're holding on. Is it loyalty, greed, comfort? Or is it a clear-eyed belief this fund is truly at its peak and ready to deliver legendary returns? Cutting through that fog is the first step. Second, build your own signal, your own radar. Trust reports, sure, but don't worship them. Look around the ecosystem, talk to the few who dare to speak truth, watch movements that ripple beneath the surface. Risk doesn't always scream, it whispers. Hearing that whisper is the difference between being a master or a victim. Third, embrace action. Liberation isn't passive. It's not about wishing for the market to bend your way. It's about seizing control of your decisions, even if that means standing apart, looking crazy, or losing some friends. And here's what's radical. When you pull out at the peak, you're not just saving capital, you're reclaiming your power. You're saying no to systems that treat you like a number. You're telling yourself that your investment is a reflection of you, and not the other way around. You become a limited partner who doesn't just follow the well-tread path, but who dares to redraw the map. You move from being a passive player to a relentless creator of your own financial reality. Imagine looking back years from now, knowing you sidestepped a coming collapse because you trusted your voice, your instincts, your clarity. Imagine having the space, financially and mentally, to pivot faster, to chase not just what's hot, but what truly aligns with who you are and what you value. This is not just investing, it's a rebellion against complacency, a smashing of illusions. It's the very essence of what it means to be free. But remember, this isn't easy. Walking away at the top feels like betrayal, like quitting the team. There's guilt, second-guessing, the noise from inside and outside telling you you're making a mistake. That pressure is exactly what you have to break through. You have to be ruthlessly selective about whom you listen to, because even well-meaning voices might anchor you to ruin. You have to be patient with yourself, letting clarity build step by step, not rushing or freezing, but calmly owning your timing. Here's a lifeline you can hold on to. You are not alone in this. Behind the scenes, many limited partners wrestle with this silent tension every day. The difference is those who act, not in panic, but in calm, precise, unshakable moments of knowing. Those are the ones who crack open a future others only dream about. They are the few who burn against the current, who refuse to swallow outdated narratives, who unleash themselves from illusions of comfort. So if you ever feel that ache, the pull between holding tight and letting go, don't dismiss it. That tension is the spark, the first flicker of freedom. Don't let it die for the comfort of conformity. Instead, feed it with bold questions, sharp honesty, and the willingness to step into unknown territory armed only with your clarity and your courage. That's when the locked doors begin to open. That's when you glimpse what investing really can be. Not a trap, but a path to liberation. This isn't just about money, it's about sovereignty. It's about saying, no more slaves to the system, no more fear-driven decisions. I am the master of my own fate. That kind of power is rare. It's fierce. It's the fire that melts chains and lights new paths. And it starts with one radical step: pulling out when the world expects you to hold on tight. So keep watching, keep listening, keep breaking the silence inside you. Because your next move could be the one that changes everything. And that's not just powerful, it's necessary.